Hello, everybody, and welcome to our creative writing masterclass. I'm just going to do a full screen there. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everybody can hear me. My name is Lois, and I am going to be taking us through this creative writing masterclass today. So the way it's going to work today is we're going to be talking about picture prompts. We'll just go to my first slide. We're going to be talking about how to use pictures to inspire your creative writing, whether that's descriptions or narratives. Now, I hope that everyone's doing well today. I would like to suggest that if at any point you would like to make a comment or you would like to contribute, there will be various times where you can give ideas and things about the different tasks that we're going to look at. Please do use the chat function. There's a lot of you here in the masterclass today, so I won't be able to pick on individuals to speak, but I would love to hear from you and to see what your thoughts are about different ideas. So please do get involved using the chat, and I'll read out answers so that we can see the different ideas that we're having. So, and then at 1 o'clock, so this a masterclass will be an hour, and then at 1 o'clock we will have a parents Q&A session. So, the first part is the masterclass for the students, and then we'll move to the parents Q&A after that. So here we go. Let's get started. So, as I said, we are talking about using pictures to inspire creative writing, and as I said, this can be used both for descriptions or for narratives. I'm going to talk a little bit about both. So we'll think about, first of all, how to use a picture to inspire a description. Secondly, how to use a picture to inspire a short story. And we'll also think about how to create plans and manage your time effectively. So let's go through a few pointers to start off with. Oops, there we go. So picture prompts, yes, they're really useful. If you do get given a picture prompt, it's a great way to get your writing started. It's a great way for you to be able to take a visual and use it to inspire your ideas. So you've got something more to work with. Now, as I've written here, the picture is just a guide. Okay, so you might feel that you want to add things, you want to add more detail, you want to add in maybe a character or something that isn't actually in the picture. That is totally fine. The picture is just there as the initial prompt. So you might use it as the setting for a short story, if that's what they've asked you to do, or you might use the picture to describe the scene itself. If it's a description, you're just setting the scene for that particular image. So I'm going to talk you through some different ways that you can use these pictures, and then don't worry, there will be some opportunities for you guys to try these things out. So my first, I guess, method for using a picture for creative writing is the grid method. Now, I've got a picture here, as you can see, it's a snowy village scene. You've got the hills in the background, you've got the houses and the rooftops covered in snow, and then you've got the little boy sledding down the hill there. But what you can see that I've done is I've placed a 3x3 grid over the top of the picture. So this is one thing that you can do. When you get a picture prompt, draw a grid across it. It will allow you to break the picture down into 9 components so that you can then focus different descriptions on those different sections. So what I've done here is we've created 9 sections for the picture, and I've labeled them here so you can see. So image 1, there it is, or should say, I guess, square 1. Just get my pointer here. There we go. Square 1 here is the chimney tops. So already a great thing you can describe. Then box 2 is here, the white sky in the background. And of course, you've got the hills as well, but I think we would primarily focus on the sky there. Box 3 is the hills and the fields. So you can see this one focuses on, you can see the fields there. You can also see the hills in the background. Number 4, snowy roofs. Number 5, more adjoining houses. Number 6, the trees, which are behind the houses there. Number 7, doorways. Number 8, the sledger, of course. And number 9, the snow-topped fence. Now, obviously, there are some elements that appear in more than one box, but using the grid will help you to pull out elements of the picture and give you more things to describe. I find one of the things that students often say to me when we're talking about descriptions is, "Oh, I'm running out of things to say. I've described everything." That's very rarely actually true. There's usually loads of things you can describe. You've just got to look more closely. So, first method to try, the grid method. Let's go on to our next slide. So, when you're writing a description, as I said, you've got to examine your picture really carefully to identify its main elements. Now, as I said, you could use the grid method to help you pick those elements out of the image. Okay, I can see a question in the chat. When you ask us to write something, do we write it in the chat? Yes, you'll write it in the chat. But I'll tell you when you'll know when you need to write something. You should always aim to write, okay, this is the next element, sorry, next bullet point. Always aim to write 3 paragraphs. Now, obviously, in the grid method, we identified 9 elements, but that doesn't mean that you have to write 9 paragraphs. That just means you've got 9 things to talk about. So you can arrange them into, 3 paragraphs, have 3 things, perhaps in each one. Maybe 3 elements in paragraph 1, 3 in paragraph 2, or 3 in paragraph 3. But there's another possibility, another way that you can try this, and I've started to point it out here. You can also write your paragraphs so that you're slowly zooming in, shifting around the image and drawing the reader into the scene. Let's go to our next slide. So I'm going to talk you through here another way to structure a description with a picture. So you start off paragraph 1, a wide sweeping overview of the scene. So that means in paragraph 1, you're going to describe the things that you can see from the furthest distance. It might be the hills, it might be the sky, that kind of thing. Then in paragraph 2, you zoom in on something else in the scene. Nothing too very small, but something on a kind of medium level. So for example, a house or a tree or something like that. And then in paragraph 3, you zoom in even closer. So you pick out one small aspect of the image and you look at it in very close detail. And obviously the grid method can help you to pick out some of those things that you might talk about, but it's 3 paragraphs that start from far away and then gradually pull your reader in. So let's have a look at some examples of how we could do this. Now here's a first image to have a look at. It's got some moving elements in it, of course, which is quite fun. So you've got this cozy scene. We've got a family sitting or friends sitting around the fireplace. There's a dog in the middle there. You can see it's raining outside. So if you were presented with this image, what 3 elements might you talk about? I'm going to show you this first one and then you guys can try the next one as well. So if I got this image, this is how I might plan it out. I might do paragraph 1, a wide overview of the whole scene. Maybe I describe, the crackling fire, the rain outside, the clinking of the cups, things like that. Keep it really broad. Then paragraph 2, I zoom in to the people sitting around the room. Maybe I focus on each one bit by bit. Maybe I look at what they're doing. And then in paragraph 3, I zoom in really closely to the fire and the dog sitting on the hearth. So if I imagine myself as like a camera, I've gone from like far away, like looking at the whole thing, and then I've kind of gone round the individuals and then zoomed in to the fire and the dog. So that's how I would structure that. So see if you guys can try that same structure now. I'm going to give you another picture and see if you can write in the chat a short plan, just like this. It doesn't have to be very long. It can literally be 1 sentence, 1 point for each part, where you outline what you would focus on in each paragraph, following that zoom in method. So let me show you the picture. Okay, here you are. So take a look at the image, and I want you to examine what's in front of you here. And then think about, if I was zooming in slowly, what would I start off with in paragraph 1? What would I do if I was far away? What would I write about? Then if I was going into the middle, what element of the picture would I zoom in on? Something medium. And then if I was zooming in really closely, what would I pick? I mean, for this picture, you've got quite a lot of things you can talk about. So there might be some variation with your descriptions. That's totally fine. But you've got to just pick out the elements that you could include. So I'm going to give everyone a couple of moments to write down some things in the chat, and then I'll read some of them out. Okay, good. I can already see some ideas coming through. Okay, it's looking good. I'll just give everyone a second so that we got all three parts. Okay, so let's read out some of these. Some of them, the messages are kind of separated, so I might have to go and like find your different ideas. But let's read some of them out, the ones that are closer together. If you could actually, everybody, if you could send your ideas all in the same message, that would be better because then I can see them all at once, because otherwise the other messages kind of break it up a bit. So, for example, here's one from Alma, who has said in paragraph one, she would focus on the sky. Paragraph two, she would focus on the trees. And then paragraph three, she would focus in on the lady and the robotic stuff. Yep, that's a good idea. Yeah. Because the sky's got lots of colors in it, stars, clouds, trees, yeah, great. And you could focus on the shape of the different ones and maybe the rocks around them. And then you've zoomed in on the woman in the middle for your last paragraph. That would definitely work. What else have we got? Now, Aisha has said she would focus in paragraph one, the lady on the box, paragraph two, the robo dog, and paragraph three, the flying circle. I guess you mean this. I think you mean that. Yes. That would be good. Yes. Although what I would suggest is perhaps to have paragraph one a little bit even further away, maybe describe the sky, the natural setting, and then bring in the lady and the dog in paragraph two, perhaps. You just want to make sure that you're zooming in and you're covering the whole picture. Okay, what else have we got here? So Ayan has said, I would probably start off with the girl and the floating cube. Then I would zoom in close on the robotic metal dog. Then I would zoom in really close on the small metal sphere, which is floating. Oh yeah, so actually quite similar to the previous one that I read from Aisha. Yeah, but that's nice. Again, I'm going to make the same suggestion. I think maybe use the setting first, perhaps, and then zoom in on those other elements. But yeah, that works well because actually that does zoom in, one, two, three. It's pretty nice. Okay, let's see. Kavish has said, I would describe the sky, the rocks, and the trees. And then paragraph two, I would describe the elements on the ground. And then paragraph three, I would describe the human and the robo dog. Yeah, that works. That works really nicely. I think actually that would work well for number two to focus on all these strange things. And then come in on the robo dog, kind of build up to introducing the sort of inventor at the end. I think that could work well. Okay. Anna, I would start off with the sky and the trees, then I would do the lady, the robotic dog, then the electronics and things on the floor. Yeah. Same similar point to the previous one, just slightly rearranged. But yeah, these work really nicely. I think a lot of you have said similar things, but in kind of slightly different orders. I'll just read a couple more. So you've said Minjun has said, I would focus on the background, the sky in the back, and the woods. Then I would focus on the person, the items each holding. And then the third one, the robotic dog. That would also work. Mahi has said, paragraph one, what the lady's doing, and the dog. Paragraph two, the sky and the trees. Paragraph three, the equipment she's using. I would switch around two and one if I were you, because you don't want to go in on something quite specific and then come back to the sky. It's going to feel a little bit out of order. But all the elements, yes, but maybe just switch around one and two. But then, yeah, paragraph three, zooming in on her equipment is a really good idea. Okay, fantastic. These all look really nice, everybody. Some really methodical and following that zoom in structure. A lot of your ideas do that, so well done. Let's see what I did in my example. Oh yeah, you can see the the image is spinning. Sorry, I don't think I actually clicked that yet. So let's have a look at the how I did it. Just go to the next slide. And this is probably quite similar to what some of you guys did say, in fact. So paragraph one, a wide overview of the scene, the rocks, the sky, the trees. Paragraph two, zoom in on the collection of tools sitting around her. And then paragraph three, zoom in on the inventor herself with the spinning box. So actually, that's pretty similar to what a lot of you guys said. So yeah, I think you could also perhaps bring in the dog in paragraph three. I think if I was doing this, I would do paragraph three and include the dog as well. Okay, so that is one way you can structure a description using an image to help you. You pick out the sort of background information first, then you come closer in to something on a medium level, and then something really specific for paragraph three. Okay. Oh, and there's the image zooming again. Right, we're going to try a couple more quick practices now. So I've got a few more images for you to try, just like the ones that we were just doing. You're going to look at the image and I want you to come up with, again, a plan for the three paragraphs. Same thing again, new picture. So let's go to the next slide. Okay, here you are. So this one doesn't move, unfortunately. This is just a painting. But if this was the image that you were given, look at the image, think, okay, what is being depicted here? So I've got like the boats, I've got the sea, the moon on the sea, I've got the sort of gloomy night sky, then there's ships in the distance, you've got the people on the harbour. So if this was the image that you were given, how would you structure your description? Let's see what you guys come up with. Okay, so Torrin has said one, the sky and the moon, two, the ships, and then three, the people and what they're doing. Yeah, I think that would be really effective. Typically, this just seems to work. You want to have like a living being, like an animal or a human, be like the last thing that you focus on. So the rest of the stuff is kind of setting the scene. And then by bringing in like a living creature within that scene, that can work well as the final thing to kind of draw in the reader and then introduce something that has a bit more character to it or something that's living. So Eliza has said, first paragraph, busy sailors. Paragraph two, the sky. Paragraph three, the calm sea. What I would do, I think, Eliza, for that one, is I would do just move your first paragraph, the busy sailors, to the end. So do sky, calm sea, sailors. That's the way that I would do it to follow that zoom in. That's just my suggestion there. Alma has said the moon and the sky for paragraph one. Number two, the boats. And number three, the people and the fire. Yeah, that would be good. And particularly the fire. Yeah, to bring that in paragraph three would be good. Let's see, what other points do we have? Celine has said in paragraph one, she would describe the sea and the night sky. Yes, good. And then paragraph two, describe the boats. Paragraph three, describe the people. Perfect. What else have we got here? Caden, similar thing. Paragraph one, atmosphere, sky, moon, the feelings. When you said the feelings, I guess you mean like the feelings that creates, the sort of mood of the picture, I think you mean there. Paragraph two, the ships and the water. Yes. And paragraph three, the people. Yeah, fantastic. Tanishka has said, I will focus on the dark blue sky with the moon. Yeah, paragraph one. Then I shall focus on the big ships and next the people and their work. Good. I mean, you've all pretty much nailed it. This is exactly how you need to do it. It's a slow zoom in from far away to close up with the one individual, the living individuals at the end. What else have we got? Okay, Sasha has said number one, she would look at the night sky and the moon in the background. Yes. Paragraph two, look at the boats in the distance. And then paragraph three, a close-up scene of the people in the harbour. Yes. Yeah, fantastic. Okay, brilliant. I think you've all pretty much said this very similar things here. But yeah, if you had something along those lines, fantastic. Well done. Okay, let's move on to, I think I have one more of these pictures. Let me just check. We might be going on to our next point. Oh, yes. Apologies. Next idea, or next task, in fact. So we've just been talking about the ways that you can structure your description to draw the reader in, to immerse them in the image. And you've all done that really nicely in terms of your planning. Now I'm going to give you another interesting way to try and make your descriptions a little bit more unique, perhaps a little bit more unusual. And I'm calling this section Choosing Perspectives. So if I just move this out the way here. As you can see from my bullet points, your descriptions can be told from various perspectives. Now, typically you would tell a description from third person. That tends to be like the standard way to do it, which is fine. You know, third person works. It will always work to write in third person because you're basically just looking at the scene from a distance. But you could be a bit more creative with your choice of perspective by writing the description from a more interesting vantage point. So here's some suggestions you can think about. Could I write from perhaps the perspective of an image, sorry, not an image, an object in the scene itself? Could I write from above, looking down at it, kind of like a bird's eye view, as they say? Or perhaps I'm looking up at the scene. Could I write from the perspective of a particular vantage point? So maybe if you look at the picture, maybe you notice, if I go back to the previous one, for example, if I just go back a slide, like, could I write my description from, being on top of this boat here, like standing there? Or do I write it from this boat coming into the harbour? Or perhaps I'm writing from the perspective of the moon up in the sky. Think about making your description a little bit more interesting by deciding on a unique vantage point. So let's have a try having a bit of a creative think about this. So here's an image for you. It's a painting of this woman looking out of the window. It looks like maybe she's looking out at the sea. Now, from where could you write your description in this picture? So look at the image and think, if I was writing a description of this picture, where could I place my vision? Where could I be sort of positioned in order to describe the image? Does anyone have any ideas? Pop them in the chat if you've got an idea. For example, I mean, as an example, I might say, maybe I write the description from the perspective of, maybe I'm outside and I'm looking in at the woman at the window. Perhaps that could be one possibility. Let's see what you others have said. So a few of you have said from the lady's point of view. Yes, from the view of the girl, the woman, the lady herself, the sight of the woman, the lady. Okay, good. So lots of you said maybe we could imagine that we are seeing things through the lady's eyes. Maybe we're describing the room and her view from her perspective. What others have you said? Some of you have said from the sea. Yes, you could be like from maybe in a boat on the sea, looking up at the woman and you seeing her perched there in the window with the with the, what's it called? Shutters with the windows open, and you could maybe describe her hair and her expression. Alma has said the mirror, interesting. Yes, Celine, the candle, interesting. Yes. Mohammed has said the blue sky. That's interesting. Yeah, you could be up high position looking down. Torin, the woman looking out. Yes. Sasha, the candle on the table, maybe from a ship in the sea. Yeah, good. Lalisha, the perspective of the woman. Yes. Caden from the mirror. That is a good one. Imagine that you're like behind the mirror looking into the room. What else have we got? Stuart has said, I would imagine I was someone in the doorway watching the scene unfold. Yes, that's a good one. So you could be like essentially where we are, as when we're looking at this picture, we're at that distance looking at the picture. The corner of the room for a better view from Sanson. Yes, good. We've got an aerial view. Yes. From the perspective of the sea, from the painting's point of view. Yeah, good. Lots of ideas that are all, yeah, I think essentially we're getting to different like points of view from within the room, right? Um, from the perspective of the curtains. Yes, good. Standing next to the girl. We could imagine that we're looking from the chair. We're coming out of the shadows. That's a little bit more sinister there. But yeah, so if you just look at this picture, there's loads of places from which you could write, loads of perspectives from which you could imagine that you're looking at the scene. Personally, I think the best ones for this are um, looking out, as in from the woman's perspective, like looking out at the sea from her perspective, and then you could maybe have her come back into the room and describe what's inside, or imagining that we are out in the sea and looking in through the window. I think that that could be good. So if any of you have suggested that, yeah, that's a nice idea. Okay, brilliant. All right, I'm just going to go on to the next one. Lots of great ideas. What, oh, actually, I did write some down on my next slide one. You can see the ones that I put. So if you said something along the lines of this, then yes, this could work. So you could be from the perspective of the candle on the dressing table. I think a few of you did say that. The view through the window. We've already said that as well. The perspective of the girl herself or the mirror on the wall. Yes, which a lot of you did say the mirror as well. So fantastic. Okay, here's another one. Quite a similar picture. Oh, actually, but here's another picture of well, another painting. If you're writing this picture, where would you write your description? So which perspective would you use for this picture here? Okay, so Stuart just suggesting the girl. Mahi, the plants, yes, or from the window, which Ayan has said. Um, Kaden from the screen, yes. Mayoresh says the wall. Yes, well, I guess you could be from anywhere, couldn't you? You could be from looking at it from that perspective, looking at it from this perspective. From the position of the plants, yes, those plants sitting on the windowsill there, because that would allow you to describe the scene from the outside of the window and also describe the scene inside the window if you imagine yourself being positioned around here. That would definitely work. Some of you have said the human, yes. From the statue on the table. Yes, good. Where is the statue? Let me remind myself. Oh, yes, there's still a statue here. Yeah, you could imagine that you are the statue and, you've got the girl leaning over you here, but also you can describe what you can see. Again, you could see the out through the window or you could see what else is in the room. Good. Just having a look from the staircase. Yes, you got this. I guess this is the staircase coming up. Okay, I'll just read a few of these out. Um, Madeline says from the stairs behind the girl. Yes. Aaron says in front of the girl. Yep, good. Um, hang on. Sasha says from the statue on the table or the painting on the wall. Yep, fantastic. I guess you mean this painting here. Good, like looking from the sides into the room. Ayan says from the banisters. Yep, good. Nidhi, the lady in the chair. Yes, you could definitely write it from her perspective, looking down on what she's looking at, and then maybe she looks out the window again. Um, Caitlin, I've read that one out, I think. Just scroll down a bit. Through the window, yes. As Mina says, through the window, which is, you could imagine that you can see through and see the girl at work, and then maybe describe the plants that are curling around the window. I guess the point I'm trying to make with this is that there are loads of different ways in which you can make your description less kind of standard rather than just looking at the picture and thinking, hey, what am I going to describe? Be more creative. Think about where could you write this from? What you would need to do is make it clear where you are, you know, make that clear in your writing so that the examiner is not like, I don't understand like where this is being written from. You've got to make it clear that you are writing from a specific perspective. So for instance, let's say that you were writing from the perspective of the windowsill. You wouldn't say I am a plant on the windowsill or something like that. That would be a bit goofy. But you could say, from the what's it called? From the windowsill, um the girls even here from this position on the windowsill, the girl's studious aura can be felt or something like that. And then you could say, her long blonde plait um runs down her back or something as the sound of her scrawl um, echoes throughout the small house or something like that. So you could basically say where you're writing it from, but you wouldn't need to say to the reader, "Oh, I am a plant" or "I am a statue." You wouldn't need to do that. You just have to imagine what you're looking at from that position in the picture. Okay, everybody, I'm going to move on to, let me just show you what my ideas were as well, actually. So I think some of you said some similar ideas. I said it could be the view looking through the window, looking into the room. The perspective of a plant on the windowsill. I think a lot of you said that. The perspective of the girl, of course, and then the perspective of the statue on the desk. So yeah, a lot of you suggested those similar things. Okay, how am I doing for time? All right. Okay, so for now, I'm gonna just move on to narrative writing, and we're going to be thinking rather than about where you could tell write your description from, or how you could structure your description, which elements you could talk about. We're now going to think about how would you use a picture to inspire a short story. Now, obviously, a short story includes something that a description does not, right? A description is just setting the scene so that your reader can imagine that they are there. But you do not need to create a plot. You don't need there to be any events. It just needs to be the scene itself, right? But in narratives, you do need to come up with a series of events. And I'm sure you're all familiar with this structure, but they need to roughly follow this clear structure of opening, build up, dilemma slash climax, and then solution. So you set the scene in the opening and you create, a bit of tension. You create a problem, create a climax, an issue that the character has to solve, and then you find a way for them to resolve it. So unlike descriptions where the picture is basically the whole thing that you're describing, the picture is like the starting point for the event of the story. So you're using it as inspiration to get you started rather than like a world that you need to describe. So let me give you an example here of how you can do this with a picture. So I've got a picture here on the left. Obviously it's moving as well, which is quite fun. And you've got, oh, it stopped moving. There we go. And you've got this waterfall with a boat underneath, but you can see that there's all these like shapes of bottles and cups falling over the sides of the waterfall and like into the river. So let's say that you were given this picture, you got to think, okay, how could I write a story that is inspired by this image? What story could I come up with? And these are some ideas that I've come up with so you can see the kind of things that you could do. So my first story idea is that there's a burst drain which causes a waterfall to be flooded with waste. So it could be that my story starts with characters on the boat, sailing out for this, hopefully having this lovely tour of this waterfall. But then when they get there, they hear this explosion sound, and they see this flood of waste come over the waterfall, and maybe it's resolved by the people having to get out and help clean up or something like that. Which is sort of similar, I suppose, to point two. My second idea was that there's a boatload of passengers who watch in horror as floods of plastic bottles flood or fall over a waterfall. So that's another possibility. My other idea, number four, was that a beautiful landmark is destroyed by global warming. So it might not necessarily be that it's a waterfall, but you might use this as like a starting point to describe a natural scene, a natural phenomenon or some kind of landmark that is, a beautiful natural scene that has over the years been destroyed by littering and rubbish and global warming, things like that. You could describe that or tell that story in your writing. And then my last idea was a little bit different. I suggested that a guest on board a boat imagines how the waterfall may be destroyed by pollution. So it's not actually happening. I mean, I guess for this particular one, you can see that it's like drawings of bottles and cups. So I kind of imagined, well, maybe it's just what they're imagining could happen is not actually really happening. And then maybe that particular guest decides to run a charity that helps protect natural landmarks from pollution or something like that. So the starting point is always the picture, but the rest of it is your ideas. So let's have a think. Let's practice this a little bit. I'll just go to the next slide. Now, I've given you some ideas for this one, but I want you to see if you guys can also come up with some ideas as well. So here's the picture that you've got. So you can see this photo here. You've got all these girls, and I guess there's some boys in there too, with their cameras or their camera phones out. And this is going to be the starting point of your story. So my ideas were um, maybe a teenage fan goes to watch a performance but realizes that everyone seems to be watching through their phones. So that could be the starting point for the story. It could be at a music concert, a fan shares a moment of connection with the artist. I think I was kind of imagining this girl here who's looking directly at the up at the stage, and maybe that's a special moment that they share. Or something quite different. Perhaps this picture inspires a story when a musical performer must face their stage fright before their debut show. So maybe it's told from the perspective of someone not actually in the picture, but this is just the audience that they're going to face. So, have a think, everybody. What kind of story, like, give me a sort of story starter. If I just turn this off for a second, there we go. That you might tell if this was the picture you were given. Do any ideas come to mind, stories you could tell that would use this as their inspiration? So we can read some of these out. Or I have a question here from Caden. Can you use your picture to do a scene later in the story? Does it have to be the first scene? Yeah, yeah, of course. You can do it. It doesn't have to be the first scene. It could be the last scene. It could be the middle scene. Doesn't matter at all. As long as the picture is kind of referenced in your writing, that's totally fine. Okay, so let's see. Ez has said that maybe it could be a story about a famous person coming somewhere. Yeah, definitely. Celine, everyone is fixated to their phones except the character. Good, yes. Tanishka says, I think they went for a trip. The teacher gave them a project and they're taking pictures. Or a favorite speaker is talking. Yes, I think that would be a good one to build up the anticipation. And you see this person that they all really like, and it shows the anticipation and the excitement that they create. Jessie has said a famous celebrity passes by and a crowd forms. Dion says a very good concert, but they're all videoing on their phones. Yes, yes. That would be a good one, I think, because it would show a dilemma. Maybe the character or the person that's performing gets frustrated with that. Sasha says a girl gets chosen to go on the stage. Yes, I think that this definitely could imply that, especially with that person in the middle with their eyes looking. Maybe that's just the moment before they get chosen to go up. Stuart says the girl with the cola bottle phone is inspired by the artist too to be a singer. Yeah, good. This could be the moment of inspiration where they realize what they want to do with their life. Anna, this one's not quite as wholesome. The musical performer is doing something embarrassing. Everyone's laughing and taking a video of them. Yeah, that could be another good story. Jill says a dancer launches into an impossible move, and next to impossible move. Yes, this could be that moment where it happens for the first time and they're all excited about it. Famous person coming to a high school says Isha. That's a good one. Yes. Lots of people lots of you have said someone famous arrives. Yes. I think that that would definitely be a likely plot for this particular story. This picture, I mean. Um, no one is taking in the moment. They're using their phones. Yes. Says Druv there. That's a good one. They're mocking someone who's performing, says Ashaz. Yes, so I guess you could have a quite an exciting story of a character who is getting to live their dreams for the first time, or it could be about someone that realizes that no one, is in the moment anymore, or it could be about the problems that people are created when people get filmed and mocked, and instead of being pleasant to each other, they film things and then embarrass them. So actually, you could definitely tell a quite a pleasant story, or a story that maybe has like a kind of lesson for people to learn. Okay, good. Let's read out a couple more. Um, maybe the royal family passes through, says Milan. Yes. Um, Jin says maybe it's a graduation ceremony. Yes, it could definitely be. Um, Jehoshua says a good concert, but the people stare at their phones. Yeah, I think that would probably be a good one, especially talking about social media. David, a crowd of fans runs into the hall, begins to take photos, capturing an awesome moment. Yes. Madeline, everyone has a phone, is taking pictures of a famous family, but one girl doesn't have their phone. Yeah, maybe that would be a good one because it would be kind of like everyone is taking photos and she's like, oh, I don't have a photo. But then she maybe gets to have a moment of interaction with one of them that no one else did because they missed it because they were just looking at their phones. Okay, fantastic. Right, let's try. I think I have another picture for this. Yes, I do. I have several pictures, in fact, where you guys are going to do a little bit more practice of this task. So I've got a couple more images, and just like we've just been doing, think about, you don't have to come up with a plot, not a plot, just the idea, like the general story idea that could be inspired by the image. So here's the first one for you. This is an image from the Chelsea Flower Show. If anyone's familiar with that. So have a look at the picture. What have we got? Think about the characters that's being represented. What could the story focus on? If this was the prompt, what would the story be about? Okay, let's see. Okay, right, let's see. Lots of ideas already coming up. Okay. So Alicia said a soldier is putting flowers on display. Yes, maybe it's a special event and he's putting the flowers on display. Celine, the roses are dying and being taken over by weeds. Yes, that could be the dilemma, and then he has to like save the roses. Torrin, he falls off the ladder and stabs himself in the eye. Oh dear. Well, yeah, it could be that he's doing this precise, beautiful display, and then maybe there's an accident. Sasha, an actor, is acting out Alice in Wonderland. They're painting all the roses red. Oh yes, I remember that. Yeah, could be. Could be that this is a Alice in Wonderland inspired story. Darav says the flowers are endangered and he's trying to save them. Good, yes. David, the head gardener, is pruning and describing roses. Yes, exactly. Maybe this is his life's work. He's maybe got a competition coming up and he's got to make them all look precise. Sherwood says the gardener on a mission to secretly plant more flowers. Oh yeah, maybe there's some kind of competition and he only has a certain amount of time to make his garden look good, and then he sneaks in to quickly do extra work. Anna, he's trimming the beautiful roses to perfection for the best rose contest. Yes, that would be good. Stuart, at a young age, a man finds a love for flowers and now he does a lot of gardening. Yeah, good, because the picture of the man, he's a slightly older looking man. So maybe this is something that he has now perfected in later life. You can even have a flashback that shows us the moment in his early life that he got into gardening. Mohammed, someone is picking flowers to sell, but they're having a hard time competing with next door. Yes, good. Maybe it's the battle of the florists. Okay, good. Caden says it's about an old man who volunteers to help and gets a reward for his kindness. Yeah, it's a good idea. Maybe he doesn't have much um, going on, day to day, and he thinks I'm going to get involved with planting those flowers, and it's so yeah, and he ends up helping everybody and gets rewarded. Tanishka says he's a gardener for the royal family, shaping up the extra flowers around to maintain. Yeah, good. Okay, excellent. Just gonna go through and see if there's any I haven't. Yeah, perhaps they're having a royal family visit. A few of you have said, Pranav has said about the royal family. Someone else said that too. Yep. Maybe he wants to impress his wife by planting more. Yeah, from Mario there. That's a good suggestion. Yeah, maybe he is um, trying to create a special surprise for her. Milan, this is a good idea. Maybe the person who announces the winner at a competition is checking the flowers to see if it's best. Yeah, I mean, a lots of these have been like, well, he was the one planting it, but maybe in fact he's the judge. Could be that he's the judge. Lalisha says the roses remind him of someone who has died. Oh yeah, maybe it could be memorial. Maybe he's there looking at those pictures, flowers that mean something to him. Yeah, that make him feel remembrant or that make him mourning someone. It's a great idea. Um, Celine said something similar here. His wife died and she loved roses. Yeah, maybe he's planting these in memory of her. Um, Asmina says he's working for the king, making a bouquet for the king to give to the queen. Oh, yeah, that's a nice idea. Yeah, so the king doesn't have to do it himself. But yeah, that's a good one. Another one from Sasha. Maybe he's the head gardener and there aren't enough flowers for the manor, so he's had to improvise. Yeah, that's a good idea. Maybe he's like, okay, we need some more, and he goes in and gets them himself. That would be good. Hafsa says, if his wife died, why is he smiling? Well, sometimes you think back fondly on memories and then you smile, even if you're sad about them. It could be a sad smile. Sambit says something similar, cuts flowers to make a bouquet for his wife to impress her. Yes, definitely. That could work. Okay, fantastic. Great. Let's try another picture. I have one more for you here. Oh, I can see one here from Mregank says he's stealing the flowers. Yes, could be for the previous one. Yeah, maybe he is stealing. Okay, brilliant. Right, here's your last picture, everybody. Then after this, we're going to take some of the ideas you've just been thinking about to create a little plot, but we'll talk about that in a second. So for now, I would just like you to have a look at this last picture here. Look at the image and think if you were writing a story based on this picture, what would you focus on? So in this one, obviously, it's kind of more of a performance, I suppose, like a circus, perhaps. You've got the clown with his hoop there. You've also got the horses and the ballerinas on the horses. What could your story be if this was the picture to prompt you? Now, remember that, like, just because you can see the picture, the event that you're talking about doesn't necessarily have to be in the picture. It could be that this is just the scene, this is the setting for the story. And it doesn't necessarily have to be that, like, what is exactly happening here is exactly what your story is about. It could just be that this is the background for it. Or this is, maybe it's set in a circus. Maybe there's ballerinas, involved in the story, but they don't have to actually be doing exactly what they're doing here in your story. Okay, let's read some of these out. So Sherwood says, the sailor, well, I think he's a clown, but I guess it could be a sailor, goes to the circus, sees a ballerina and falls in love with her. Yes, it could be a love story, a romance. An onlooker falls in love with one of the girls, says Celine. Yeah, that's a similar idea, but I think definitely the way that he's gazing at her definitely suggests that he could love her. Sabina, there's a ringmaster training the people of the carnival. Good, yes, it could be about the training. Maybe it's very strict. Maybe it ends up causing drama. Let's see. What other things have you guys put? I just noticed a question from Tanishka. Do we need to write anything in our books? Well, not really, because I'm going to send you all of these slides so you can have the stuff that you want. But if you want to be writing down anything, any of your ideas, yes, you can obviously write down and take notes as we go through. But don't worry, you will get all the notes sent to you after the session. Okay, so other ideas. The ballerinas are trying to impress people to win a competition. Yes. They're preparing a horse show, but it goes all wrong. Um, Maybe the brown horse feels that it's the odd one out. I mean, yeah, there's like a couple of brown horses, but there are a lot of white horses. So maybe he does feel, yeah, left out in some way, perhaps. Another one here, the horses go wild and are uncontrollable. Yes, maybe this is describing the struggles of training them. Maybe one of the ballerinas falls off and has to go to the hospital and closes the show. Yes, maybe this is about the end of the circus, perhaps. Um, Anna, they're riding a horse to entertain people, but a ballerina falls when she's performing. Yes. So you could have paragraph one that sets the scene with this exciting circus atmosphere, and then perhaps as they get closer and closer to the real show, perhaps in a moment of anxiety that one of the ballerinas gets injured, and then what would they do to solve the problem? Okay. Here's one. Maybe there's a ballet show. The person in the blue realizes the horses or releases the horses on the set because he doesn't like them. But then the ballerinas do the ballet on horses. Ah, interesting idea from Sasha there. So it's the idea that maybe it was initially just a ballet show, but then someone releases the horses to kind of disrupt it. But in the end, the ballerinas actually work really well with the horses. Yeah, that's an interesting idea. I think that's really quite creative. Um, the horse riders think their job is harder. This is Asmina. Than the ballerinas, so the riders let the ballerinas go on the horses. Yeah, maybe it's a competition of whose job is more requires more skill. Okay, some great ideas, everybody. Thank you for all of those suggestions. And I'm just aware that I am running out of time, so I'm just going to move on to our final task for today. So I want you to think back, if I just go to my next slide here. I want you to just quickly think back to one of the two stories that you were just creating for either the flower man with the, cutting the flowers or the ballerina on horses thing. And it's going to be your final task today just to see if we can create a little plot structure based on that inspiration. So here's my just a couple of things to think about. With descriptive writing, your narrative writing needs to have three main elements. In descriptive writing, we talked about how each paragraph, there's going to be three paragraphs, and each one slowly zooms in on something more specific. Same thing with narrative writing, other than its three main elements, beginning, middle, and end, essentially. If you want to boil it down, beginning, middle, and end. And then we can make this a little bit more specific. We can say, we can use a story mountain structure. So we have an opening and a build up, the dilemma, the problem, and then the resolution. So what I want you to do now is you're going to return to the story idea. It doesn't matter which one you choose. It could be the ballet one or it could be the flower one. It's entirely up to you. I want you to see if you can transform it into a three-part plan. Now, if I have put this on the next slide for you. So, and remember, just keep your plan simple, okay? Like with the description, we just wrote down, okay, what was going to happen, like what we were going to focus on in each section. We did it very briefly. Same thing again here. It should really be like one sentence per section. So you have your opening and your build up, what's happening at the start, and then what is the problem that occurs, and then how does that resolve? Okay. So for example, if I can sort of explain how you might do this just very briefly. Let's say that I've chosen this picture here with the man with the roses. So for example, let's say it's the Chelsea Flower Show and the judge, Bob, let's say that his name is Bob, he is going around to choose the winning rose. And in the dilemma, he realizes that one of the winning roses, or one of the roses that he thinks is going to that he thinks is a top contender, he realizes maybe the competition is that it has to be a new rose that you've developed, a new brand new species of rose. And then as he's going around judging, he realizes that one of them is not new. In fact, he invented it himself. He created that rose 10 years ago, let's say. And in the resolution, he has to reveal that the person that planted that rose was actually a fraud. And they get kicked out. And he finds a way to make sure that the Chelsea Flowers show sticks by its rules. So all I would do is I would write number one, judging the show or judging the Chelsea Flower Show. Number two, discovers that one of the roses, is not abiding by the rules. Paragraph three, reveals the fraud and restores order to the Chelsea Flower Show. That doesn't need to be long, just needs to be in those three parts. So I'm going to give you guys a second, and then when I've got some ideas, I will read a few out just for the last few minutes before we go on to our Q&A. So take a moment, write down your ideas, and I'll read some out. Okay, I'm just giving everyone a second because I can see that some of these I think they're a little bit longer than the previous ones. Right, let's read a few out. Okay, so Torrin has done one for the first picture. Part one, he learns to garden when he's young. Part two, he gets a job working for the royal family and pruning their roses up a ladder. And then part three, oh dear, he falls and tragically dies at the age of 80 years old. Oh, that's a sad story, but it still uses the picture pretty well, actually. The life of a rose gardener. Okay, good. Sands used the ballet picture. Um, Part one, the circus opens their first show. Part two, the ladies gather together and work as a team when the clown releases the horses for the next show. But the resolution is the ballerinas work as a team with the talented horses and the audience love it. Yeah, fantastic. That's really nice. Jesse, the boy does very well in a flower show. That's the opening, and then the dilemma, someone sabotages him. Oh, I wonder how, but that's a good suggestion. And then the resolution is that he plants his backup roses. Yeah, fantastic. Maybe he's got that up his sleeve. Maybe he was ready. You knew this is a cutthroat competition. You've always got to be ready to plant something else. Okay, great. Alma, the man is looking at his phone while doing flowers for the royal family. It is the flowers are horrible. Wait, I mean, I'm guessing you mean like he was distracted because he's looking at his phone, so he ends up, the flowers end up not looking very good. And then he decides, oh, get rid of my phone. Let me focus on what I'm doing. I think that's kind of what you were saying, Alma. But yeah, that's great. So it's a story that teaches us the problems of getting distracted by our phones. Okay, Celine, number one, the ballerinas are chosen. One is the best. One of the ballerinas doesn't like that and releases the horses to embarrass her. But the girl is injured. The other one repents and apologizes. Oh, yeah, that's a great story. And again, it has a good message for the reader. Okay, excellent. A joker has let the horses out. This is Shreya. The ballerinas have to ride on them to make it look like part of the show, and they succeed. Yes, fantastic. That's nice. A good three-part plan. Caden, the beginning, an old man volunteers to help, I guess, at a flower show. In the middle, he realizes the roses are painted and are fake. He decides to tell the judge, but he figures out that they are his. Tells everyone that he is cheating. Wait, the judge was the one that did the fake flowers? That is scandalous, but that's a fantastic story. Yes, I like that. Maybe it was that the judge didn't think that the old man would be that savvy, but he was. Okay, great. Let's see. What else have we got here? Okay, let's see. Ion. The flower cutter is starting to cut down blooming red flowers. When people think he's cutting the flowers, he's actually trying to steal some from his wife. Oh my goodness. A critic notices and complains to the head of command. Soon the flower cutter is kicked out and not allowed to work again. Oh, that's good. Although I would maybe done something more sympathetic where if when we realize that actually he's doing that for his wife, maybe they do allow him to do that. Okay, I've just not got that much time. Oh, actually, it has hit 1 o'clock. So I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to read any more out. But guys, thank you so much for all of your ideas. These are all really fantastic. Just because I haven't read it out loud doesn't mean I haven't seen it. Um, these are really fantastic. Thank you for all the detail that you've given. Just going through here. Yeah, these are all fantastic, particularly the ones that create that quite dramatic that dramatic dilemma that then yeah has to teach us something at the end. So well done, everybody. Thank you so much for your fantastic plans, and perhaps hold on to them, in case you want to use them for real practice. So that is us for now. I'm just going to go to the next slide, or and we will hand over to Uvashi for our Q&A. So I'll just come to the end slide here. Yes, that is all we're going to have time for. If you would like to go over and look through the slides and go over and look over the notes again, please do that because we covered as much as we could, but there were a few other bits on there if you want to have a look. But yeah, that's us for now. So yeah, I'll hand over to you, Vashi.
Yeah, thank you so much, Louis. That was such an informative masterclass. I'm sure all the students who joined here today would have learned a lot, and it would definitely help them, boost their exam scores. So now it's the time for the parents Q&A. So I would request all the parents to join in for the Q&A and drop their queries into the chat box, and we will take them up one by one. And as you can see on the screen that especially for all the students and parents who have joined us today, we are giving a special coupon code, which is Master30, and it is applicable to all the courses and products on Pi Academy. And you can definitely avail this coupon code and get straight 30% off. So it would be great that you make a note of this, and just also be ensured that this coupon code is active and valid for 24 hours. And so make the use of it as soon as possible. And as Louis already mentioned, we would be sharing the lecture notes and other checklists and other things on the email post the webinar, post the masterclass is over. So I would quickly, yeah, Louis, if you could stop the screen share, I would, yeah. Thanks. Thanks a lot. So just wanted to parents let them know that we have recently launched May half-term courses as well. So as the May half-term are coming, it is starting from 24th of May till 1st of June. So we have launched the half-term revision courses. So as you can see on our website, once you land on the website, just click on the 11 plus courses and you can already see here the new tab. That means the new courses have been added. And so just click here and you would be landing onto this page. And from here, you can see that we have 11 plus exam GL booster courses, maths complete revision course, geometry half-term revision course, algebra, fractions, statistics, comprehension, which again is a very detailed and elaborative course. And Louis herself would be taking the GL course. So I'm sure many of you might have loved her teaching style. So go ahead. And we have also launched the non-verbal reasoning course. And to check out every information related to that particular course, you can click on any of the these buttons. So just to give you an overview, just click here and you would be taken to the course internal page. So I would just show you about the GL course. The course is starting from 24th of May itself. And by the way, the coupon code that we gave you, Master30, is applicable to all of these courses. So here you can see the complete timeline from 24th till 1st of June. It's going to be a 8 days course, and each day is going to be a 2.5 hours sessions long. So here you can see the timings and everything is mentioned. So this is how every course is detailed out, and you can also see that what we would be giving after the courses are over, like every day once the classes are over, we would be uploading the lecture notes and the homework for that respective course. And also there would be a final mock exam in most of the courses, so that also is something that you can check out. So I'll just quickly have a look at the chat box. Okay. What different ideas with the picture work class help the children in the 11 plus? I think, Louis, you can take this message. I have got it in my direct message. I would just paste it in the text box for everyone to see it. I request all the parents to drop their questions in for everyone. So yes, I think it has been dropped.
Yes, I'm just not exactly sure what the question is asking. What different ideas would the picture work class help the children? Oh, just okay, I think I sort of understand. So I guess the point of this class, particularly with using the pictures, is that I mean, not always, but in 11 plus exams, there is a chance that it will be a picture that they give you. They do use picture prompts like fairly, well, not that often, but it is something that happens. It'll either be a picture or it'll be like a written prompt. But by practicing the picture prompts at home as well, it's a great way to boost the child's creativity because pictures are a great way to like create a visual, have a visual in front of them that they can then describe, in their own words, so that whenever they do get either another picture prompt or, a worded prompt, they've done all these practices before so that they've got all these ideas and these pictures in their minds that will then help them to create new ones without the picture. So it's a good thing to use simply because it actually will possibly come up, a picture prompt, so you need to know how to use it, but also it's just a great way to, boost their imagination and their creativity. So I hope that that answers that question just about.
Yeah, and I can see someone named Mohammed has asked the question of I need to work on SPAG. So definitely we can help with that. Once you hover on the website and you click on the 11 plus papers, here you would be able to see that we have got so many papers like 11 plus maths, past papers, English, verbal reasoning, non-verbal reasoning, some practice papers which are catering to different boards like GL, CEM, ISEB, etc. And next to it is the SPAG papers. So here, once you click on it, you would be able to see the entire product and what all are going to be covered here. So here you could see that the 2 sample papers are also provided. And apart from it, we have got so many papers here. So I hope that helps. We have got 30 plus SPAG tests to practice and 1000 plus questions. So I hope that answers. I would request the support team to maybe drop this link on the chat box. Next to it, I think someone has asked what questions usually come up in the 11 plus Viper or PEE. Louis, maybe you could help with that. And the
Sure,
next
yeah.
question, yeah.
Sure. I mean, the simplest way I can answer that question is that for PEE, it tends to be PEE is something that we can use for a lot of different kinds of questions. So if the question is worded, something like how does the writer use language to create a certain effect, or what do you learn about this character? So it can be like an inference question, or it could be a language analysis question. You kind of have to know how to use PEE for both different styles. So you're going to get questions that are asking you to infer about a character or about how someone is feeling, or what you often get things like what impression do you get of this character? And then you've got to use PEE to find evidence from the text and then put it into a PEE paragraph to prove your point. But you also might get questions that say, how does the writer use language to make the text exciting? Something like that. In which case you also need to use PEE to pick out techniques, notice the terminology that the writer has used and explain it. So PEE can basically be used for inference questions and also language analysis questions. So make sure that you're doing a variety of practice with both styles.
Yeah, I hope that answers this question. And Mohammed is again pinging up. So I have just shared in the chat box the link for the 11 plus solved past papers. Also, with that, we have 11 plus topic wise questions. So just on the same mega menu, once you hover on the 11 plus papers, you would 11 plus papers, you would be able to see the 11 plus maths topic wise. So you would be redirected to this page, and here you can see all the maths questions, and beside that are the number of questions, but related to that topic. So it would be, yeah, it would be really, helpful for you to target your weak areas basically and improvise on that. So here you can see a long list of topics covering all the maths related questions. So I hope that helps, Mohammed. I would just also drop this link for in case. And also, by the way, once you purchase the 11 plus maths past papers, the topic wise questions comes free with that. So you can aware that, and the coupon code is also applicable all on all of these products, as well as the 11 plus courses which I just showed you, which are just launched. And you can definitely avail that with our coupon code. Okay. Uh, what next? What length of writing is expected in the 11 plus? Lewis, someone has
Yes,
asked.
that's a great question. This is going to obviously slightly vary depending on the child's size of writing, the handwriting that they use. But I usually suggest, as I said in the presentation, I suggest 3 good paragraphs. Now, that doesn't mean like a paragraph isn't like 2 or 3 sentences. A paragraph needs to be like 6 or 7 good sentences. So essentially, you want to be aiming to be writing probably, if you think about an A4 page, maybe at least a page, if not slightly more. The thing is, you don't want to write loads and loads because the chances are that your writing is going to become a lot less detailed. So don't encourage students to write like 3 pages because they're not going to actually they're going to be worried about just filling up the space rather than thinking about what their sentences include. So I suggest 3 good paragraphs of 6 or 7 sentences each, in which each paragraph includes various techniques. Make sure that you're highlighting to practice, notice how many techniques you're using. I think Celine's asking a similar question. How long should a paragraph be in lines? About 6 or 7 sentences would be what I'd aim for. I hope that answers that question.
Yeah. Okay. So for more of knowing about more about the creative writing, I think I would also like to mention that we do have the video courses, and here also you can check out the complete creative writing mastery course. And along with that, you would be getting the checklist as well. So which again we would be sharing in the email today. So I would like to take you all through that once. Okay. I think I'm logged in. That's why I'm able to see the entire course right now. This is something how the course would look like. You can see chapter 1, 2, and 3. Completely, we have described what all is going to be the topic. I'm not sure what this question means. I know 26 digits of pi. Okay. All right.
Can I answer the question about the vocabulary? Um, there's a question here that says, how can the child build their vocabulary for writing and actually plugging the text rather than knowing the word theoretically? This is a really common question that students, well, that we get. Yeah, great question. I would suggest that well, I do often see students who will use a word in the text without actually knowing what it means. And so whenever they learn a new word, you need to spend some time like getting to know what that word actually, what it means and how you can use it. So I would suggest whenever you're reading together, anytime you come across a new word, make sure that you write that word down, look it up in the dictionary, and then write several sentences that include it. So it's not just like they've learned the word and they're kind of like, okay, that word sounds kind of good. Like, let me just randomly put it in. That won't work. You need to spend some time learning the word rather than just like coming across it and knowing how to spell it. So yeah, be working really kind of practically on creating a vocabulary bank. Every time you find a new word, take time to get to know how to use it.
Yeah, and I think Kevin has directly texted me that are they expected to write a book review type of questions and how to prepare for it?
Oh, yes, I did see that question earlier, actually. I've never seen a book review question. I mean, I think I've seen once or twice it will say something like talk about a book that you've enjoyed or something like that, which I think is perhaps what they're referring to rather than necessarily a book review. I mean, essentially, that is like a kind of like a persuasive piece of writing where you are, again, I would still suggest you do 3 paragraphs and you want to structure it into summarize the book, in paragraph one. Paragraph two, what did you like about the book? Paragraph three, if you could make anything better, what would you do? I would just do it like that. So basically what you need to have for all of these writing tasks is a rough outline that you would use. If you get a book review, that's how I would do it. Summarize the book in the first paragraph, give your what you really enjoyed in the second, and then in the third, if you could improve anything, what would you do? So something along those lines.
All right, I think that's time up for our Q&A sessions. And just to reiterate, again, we are giving the coupon code Master30 to avail straight and flat 30% off on all the products on Pi Academy, bearing the annual subscriptions. So you can definitely avail it on our papers and also the May half-term courses. So, and after this masterclass is over, we would be sending the email uh, maybe in a couple of hours. And with that, you would be able to get the lecture notes and the checklist as well. Thank you so much for joining in today.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.